Hi, this is Savannah,
And this is Brian from the Dorky Diva Show,
and you're listening to Star Wars.
the best place for below average Star Wars.
The Dorky Diva Show presents
Why is this seat so much more comfortable?
the long-awaited sequel to the adventures of the Zolan Dart audio drama.
Have you seen the captain's datapad?
Trying to work, Murph.
Piloting the Zolan Dart by himself,
You do understand the details of this particular job, correct?
I've been on plenty of jobs like this. With you!
Reldar Sias returns to a planet he thought he'd left behind for good.
Is there a reason you didn't mention I was tagging along?
Hopefully having you there will make others think twice about messing with me.
Making new friends
Oh, you must be the pilot of the Zolan Dart, yes?
I guess I am.
and reconnecting with old ones,
Reldar?
Vera?
What are you doing here?
until past grudges resurface.
I'd be minding my own business if I were you.
Well, if your business wasn't being handled right in front of my face, maybe I could mind my own business. We have to leave. Now.
Why the rush all of a sudden?
We're in trouble.
If it isn't little Reldar Sias.
Hey, Yorick. Long time no see.
Roz already knows you're here.
Oh,
Look who decided to come home.
Reldar must confront his origin,
I must admit, I never saw this as being a part of your past, Softshell.
or let it define his future.
I will get what is owed to me, no matter the cost.
because what Roz is trying to do is wrong.
Says you.
My blasters, we're going to need these. Take that, Sleemo!
Who do you think you are?
The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, Episode 2, coming soon.
Welcome to Star Wars, best place for below average Star Wars.
Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Show, the best place for below average Star Wars. I am the Geordie Jedi Pete.
I am Jason Hondoling.
And I'm the Canon Junkie XL, Ian.
And we are back with a brand new episode to talk about Star Wars Ahsoka, streaming now on Disney+. We're going to be reviewing episode 4, which is titled Part 4, Fallen Jedi. Ian, obviously, this is the first time you've joined us to talk about Ahsoka, so before we dive into sort of the review of the episode, and there's a lot to talk about because it was a fantastic episode, just wait, what were your overall thoughts of like the first 3 episodes, and how excited were you going into episode 4?
Really excited, yeah. It's been a really good start. The first couple of episodes I thought were really good, and then the third one really piqued my interest when it came out about the stuff with the other galaxies and all that type of stuff. So yeah, no, really, really happy where they're going so far. And like I said, in episode 4, which we'll talk about in a minute, there's a few twists and turns in that I wasn't expecting. So it's doing a very good job of not being exactly what I thought it would be, and I like that.
It certainly is a wild ride, isn't it? Ian, Jason, what were your thoughts as you sat down ready to watch the episode? Were you pumped for it? Were you expecting something special?
Knowing that this episode was going to be directed by Dave Filoni, I knew something was going to be special. Also, it was the telltale sign when you clicked on Disney Plus to watch the episode, and all they told you was that it was part 4, and there was no title.
They've done that with every episode so far.
Have they? This was the first time I'd noticed it, because I know they've done it before in Mandalorian.
So I think when it first airs, they're just titled like Part 1, Part 2, Part whatever, and then I think once people have time to watch it, it then throughout the day changes to its actual title.
But it was. I'm so glad I didn't know what it was, because obviously I sort of guessed that a certain person was going to appear at some point. But no, I was really looking forward to it. Again, I woke up early to watch it in the early hours of the morning, and yeah, I just sat there. By the time I went to work at 8 o'clock, I'd already watched the episode twice. So yeah, I was really into it.
So I'd had surgery the day before, so I was I'd woken up probably around 3 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday morning, struggling a bit, but I come downstairs and obviously watched it and loved it. So it was a nice little thing to take my mind off of what I'd been through the day before. So let's just dive in and we'll give a quick synopsis of the episode, and then we'll get our thoughts on it. So, like I said, it's episode 4 of Ahsoka, streaming now on Disney Plus. It's called Part 4, Fallen Jedi, directed by Peter Ramsey, written by Dave Filoni, as every episode is in the series, aired on September 5th, 2023. And essentially, Ahsoka's thinking about the implications of reaching the throne in Ezra Bridger, giving Sabine sort of pause since she remains determined to find her friend. While this is going on, they're attacked by several of Baylan Skoll's forces. These are sort of the HK droids and the mercenaries, as opposed to the Force wielders, and they're able to hold them off quite well. We get an awesome droid fight, which is awesome. Fearing that Baylan will acquire the coordinates to Thrawn's location, Ahsoka and Sabine head to his base, but are intercepted by Shin and Marok. Obviously, lightsaber battles all over the place here. Ahsoka duels Marok and defeats him quite easily, I would say. Sabine takes on Shin. There's a cool little moment where we sort of realise that Sabine's not Force sensitive, or where Shin realises that, which is really cool. Ahsoka reaches Baylan at the sort of the place I'm calling the map room or the map cliff, in an attempt to stop them from getting the coordinates to reach Thrawn and Ezra Bridger. Quite an intense lightsaber battle takes place. Ahsoka's able to retrieve the map and stop the coordinates being sent up to the big hyperspace ring that's going to be taking Thrawn's friends to him and perhaps bringing him back, maybe with a Star Destroyer. There's a bit of shenanigans goes on, and Ahsoka is sent over the cliff edge. Doesn't seem like she's died, in my opinion. Obviously, Sabine sees that. She holds the map at gunpoint. Baylan's able to sort of manipulate her into saying, I'll take you to see Ezra. If you just give me the map, come of your own free will, and we'll do that. So they're able to finish getting their coordinates out of the map, to which then Baylan then destroys the map. Very cool with the lightsaber, and they all go on board. When I say they all, I mean Shin, Baylan, and Sabine go on board the Eye Sion. At the same time, a small fleet of New Republic fighters led by Hera Syndulla and the Ghost arrives at Cedos, try to stop the freighter from jumping into hyperspace, but it fails. And then we get the ending where Ahsoka appears to awake in the world between worlds, which is seemingly reunited with her former master, Anakin Skywalker. Let's just dive in sort of at the beginning here. I think the end of the last episode, we see Baylan say we're going to send the forces in, and then we see them arrive here. We get an awesome fight between a droid fight between Huyang and an HK-47 droid, which is really cool. And then obviously the Jedi droid's able to alert Ahsoka and Sabine to come outside and take care of all of these mercenaries. What were your thoughts on the opening of the episode, Ian? And sort of did it take you by surprise at all of what was going on?
Yeah, like I said, it starts off from the previous episode where we see Balin send his how do they call it in Star Trek? Red shirts. Obviously, the disposable characters in to deal with the people. Obviously, we all know that's not going to do anything. It was really cool to see Hu Yang take up robot boxing. I thought it was pretty cool. He had some moves. He was it looks like he'd been training. There was a small part of me that wanted him to whip out the lightsabers and see if he could use them, but I'll take him boxing a HK-87 droid to a knockout. And then it was really cool seeing Sabine and Ahsoka work together. I thought the teamwork was really good. I also liked the bit, obviously foreshadowing later, but I did like the bit where obviously Hu Yang says, "Stay together. You always are better when you're together." And they're like, "Yeah," and it's nice to see them have a bit of levity in that situation. However, obviously, they don't heed his warning, they don't stay together, and that's where I feel like the real turn in this episode took place.
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the things I loved was that when the power goes off in the ship, which is the trick that Hu Yang does to alert them that something's wrong, Sabine's like, he's lost the power, but Ahsoka straight away is like, he wouldn't, and it's like ignites the saber, forcing out the hatch, which goes through just how much she trusts this character, this droid, which I think says a lot about him.
One thing I'm enjoying is how they're building up Thrawn. Like, we haven't seen him yet. He's been mentioned, but every time he's mentioned, you do get an impending sense of dread that if this guy comes back, there's going to be serious problems because, as Hera says, he's not your normal Imperial officer. And for the wider audience, people who haven't read Heir to the Empire, haven't seen Rebels, and that, they don't know who Thrawn is. But we haven't seen him yet. But yet, you do feel his presence overarching on this show. Like, he is going to come. I'm pretty sure he is going to make it back to the known galaxy, and that's where Dave Filoni's movie is going to lead. I might be wrong with that, but yeah, I do like how they're building up the return of Grand Admiral Thrawn.
I think Thrawn's got a lot to prove because I think in this world, the current canon, he sort of skips all of the Civil War.
Yeah.
So I think when he comes back, depending on what he's got out there with him and what he can find when he gets back, whether these Imperial remnants will get behind him or not, I think he's got a lot to prove because, like I said, he sat out. Basically, all he did was deal with some rebels on Lothal.
I think that was the case in Star Wars Legends as well, where he was out in the unknown regions building up the what was it called? Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know off by heart, but the Empire of the Hand, which was obviously something out in the unknown regions to obviously fight against intergalactic invaders and all that type of thing, which is quite funny now that he's in another galaxy. So yeah, but obviously we all know how deadly he is, but like I said, the wider audience don't. Yeah,
and I think that's why we discussed it on last episode. I think that's why the New Republic are a bit like, well, just an Imperial officer. Like, what's the problem?
I put I can't remember what it was, X tweet, whatever. I put a tweet out the other day saying I don't blame the New Republic for being complacent because the vast majority of senators and people in the galaxy won't know who Thrawn is. It's only the military of the rebellion who fought against him who know who he is. Then they just say, "Oh, a Grand Admiral been missing. All right then." Like I don't blame them for being complacent.
Jason, what were your thoughts on obviously they take care of the cannon fodder, the red shirts, pretty quickly, the HK droids and the mercenaries, and then we see Marok and Shin come out. What were your thoughts on? I suppose first of all, your thoughts on Marok versus Ahsoka.
For me, that was something that obviously with over the last week, I think we've all been starting to get with the whole furore over who is Marok, and I was so pleased with the way this turned out. And I'll say it again because I say it so many times. I always trust Filoni, and I was convinced that it wasn't going to be some character that they were bringing back for the sake of bringing back. And the way this, obviously he was fighting Ahsoka, clearly a very skilled Inquisitor, and from the way he eventually fell, I believe he was probably an Inquisitor that had almost been zombified and returned by probably some sort of magic from what's Morgan Elsbeth, and I believe that's where he's come from, which I thought was brilliant and absolutely the right way to go with that character.
I mean, it's one of the things where I thought he was cannon fodder as well, really. You know, he blocks some of Ahsoka's battles, but as soon as he starts getting the big licks and spinning the saber, you know, Ahsoka just takes him out with one swish, the blade. Similar to how we've seen her do it. Similar to how we've seen her do it in Tales of the Jedi as well. As for Marok, is he dead? Where did that dust go? I don't know. Did he fly away somewhere to get a new suit?
I thought it was very reminiscent to Savage Opress in the Clone Wars. Obviously, he was enhanced by Night Sister magic. And then obviously when Sidious kills him in the Clone Wars, you obviously see all that magic leak out and he goes back to how he was before he was enhanced. So I thought it was very reminiscent of that.
Yeah. When he was. So I imagine we'll get a nice little data entry on him down the line on the data bank on stars.com, which hopefully give a bit of stuff. But yeah, you know, he didn't really stop Ahsoka at all. You know, I think I said last week, I said Ahsoka would fight him and defeat him and go on to fight Balin in this episode, which I was proved right on. Ian, what did you make of Shin versus Sabine 2?
Really good. I still get the impression that Sabine is out of her depth fighting Shin. It's not going to be one of the cases where she beat her once and all of a sudden she has like a Rocky moment, come back and beat her. She used her Mandalorian trickery instead of she goes to force push her, and I've seen a few people saying, "Oh, was that like a slap in the force when she moves ahead?" I think she was just anticipating that she was going to be force pushed, and obviously didn't then realise that it didn't work. And then obviously Sabine uses her wrist rockets to disarm her, and then obviously Shin runs away. I did really enjoy it. I am fascinated by both villains, but Shin Hati and Balin Skoll for me are some of the best villains introduced into Star Wars in a long time. Shin Hati just for how she acts and all that type of thing, and Balin Skoll is just a fascinating character. So yeah, I'm digging the villains in this show. I get that they're actually a threat. Like sometimes you have a villain, but you know they're not a threat to the main characters. But I could see Balin and Shin being a threat moving down the road.
Jason, what were your thoughts on Ahsoka versus Shin 2? Sorry, on Sabine versus Shin, sorry.
This for me was absolutely brilliant. Again, we clearly see it. We see an improvement in Sabine, and I think it's quite visible. And I think that's, it sort of gives credence now that you see in the episodes. We see now why she was so clunky in that first battle, because obviously it had been a long time since she trained with the lightsaber. She'd stepped away from everything that she'd been taught by Ahsoka, so she was caught off guard. Now, she still isn't as adept with the lightsaber as obviously Shin is, but she's definitely showing more improvement. And also, she's using the skills that she's got as a Mandalorian. And again, this is something that came out in the previous episode where they were in the space battle and where it became obvious that Ahsoka had to sort of hand over control to Sabine because she was the one that was skilled in the battle in space. So now I think we're seeing Sabine sort of embracing both sides, seeing when she goes out with the blasters against the droids and uses everything, that's when you see Sabine as the Mandalorian warrior that she is and that we, remember from Rebels. Here, she's clearly started to improve from Ahsoka's training, but she's got a long way to go, whereas Shin is obviously a lot further forward than Sabine. And I've got a theory on the whole Shin and Balin thing, because obviously Balin has shown throughout that he's not a clear dark Jedi. He's torn. He saw the fall of the Jedi, and he just is a bit disillusioned with it all in a similar way to Ahsoka is. And I strongly feel that there's a big possibility that we're going to see almost a rebirth of the Sith idea, because I think Shin is possibly going to become more powerful than Balin, because she's embracing the dark side. And I think we could possibly even see the apprentice destroy the master, as the Sith law goes, which is something I'm just sort of the sort of vibes I'm getting from it all. Obviously, the battle that we then get with Balin and Ahsoka, he's got a very he sees Ahsoka as the enemy, and almost as a war criminal. Like she says, I know it's been said before, like the separatists did. They weren't clearly just the bad guys. They had a genuine reason for believing that the separatists movement was the better way to go. So Balin, obviously, and he's also, very protective of Shin, but we also see a very protective nature of Ahsoka, which is something that, sort of comes through, that obviously her and Sabine have a very strong relationship that's led to this point.
Definitely, I think a few things I want to talk about, dial it back a little bit. Obviously, Sabine, I think, when Sabine fought Shin the first time, Sabine wasn't really just not using the lightsaber, she wasn't even using the blasters or her armor. Like, they were all in the bag under the table, hadn't been touched in ages. Do you know what I mean? So, like, it was very much someone who'd been checked out of all combat. What we see her preparing here, like, her gear's there ready, she's getting her blasters ready, her armor ready. She's done some training. For me, I think when she goes to use the Force, I wouldn't say she goes to use the Force, she puts her hand on shit to, like, stop her. And then that is when Shin's expecting the Force push. And then Shin actually says, "You have no power," because she realizes that she didn't actually touch her. Nothing happened. But obviously, that's when Sabine just quickly goes wrist rocket, bang, disarms her before Shin does the Batman trick with the mist and runs away. Which was really, really good. I think Balin's he's almost, he talks about losing his faith, so he's lost his faith. So he doesn't have faith anymore. Obviously, but the only thing he knows is the way of the Jedi, and that's how he's brought Shin up as a Padawan. And obviously, the mercenaries for hire, really. And, for me, I think Balin's caught up in where, like, he wants to just do as he's been paid to do. But also, like, we've heard him say he didn't really want to have to kill another Jedi if he could avoid it. But once she turns up, he's very much like, trying to give her a little bit of verbal stick here for the past and stuff. But it's like, you were part of that order as well, mate. And, like, the Jedi fell on your watch as well. So, do you know what I mean? I think he's very much maybe trying to push out the lessons he sees from himself on other people when he's having this dialogue with Ahsoka. As for what will happen, I think, we see it when she chokes, when she's choking Sabine, and obviously he asks her to stop because he's made a deal with her, and she stops. I think down the line, I think she hasn't been brought up in the way that, like, in the Jedi Temple, she's been brought up by Balin, but, like, not under the watch of the Jedi, if that makes sense. So I think, like, she could very well, like, not want to go by her master's rulings and then turn on him and go and run things on her own. I think could quite well be a possibility. What was your thoughts, Ian, on sort of what went down sort of after the lightsaber battles have all finished?
Oh, so the bit with Sabine, that was the main part of the episode that threw me. Obviously, Ahsoka assumes Sabine is dead, and then it's quite interesting because it was mentioned in a previous episode that she uses her anger, and obviously Force pushes Shin into a wall, potentially using the dark side, and that obviously unbalances her, and that leaves her unbalanced, and that obviously allows Balin to get the upper hand on her, which I like that, obviously, because it was mentioned in a previous episode. And then obviously she realizes Sabine's alive and tells her to destroy the map. But I'm quite shocked that obviously he knocks her off the cliff, and then I'm quite shocked that she gave him the map. We find out the major spoiler thing is that her family did die on Mandalore. He obviously uses the Force to look into her mind. Obviously knows about Ezra, knows about her family, so he knows her family died in the Night of a Thousand Tears and the Mandalorian Purge. So he uses that to manipulate her, very Darth Sidious-like, if you like. And then she gives him the map, which was a part I was like, oh wow, I didn't expect that. I expected her to do something, try and throw it away or something, or try and destroy it. But she willingly gave him the map and willingly is going with them. So that's a really interesting twist that I did not see coming.
I think it had to happen because, I mean, now they need to trace where they've gone, and if they have to do that through Sabine sending coordinates back or something like that, like at least Sabine's there now, so they've got someone there who they can track to where they've gone. If that makes sense. But yeah, I think that's right. I think Shin turns up, doesn't she, towards the end of the battle between Ahsoka and Balin, and you see it on Ahsoka's face. All right, Sabine's been killed here. And you see her be a bit more aggressive, unbalanced with the Force, a bit the dark side creeping in, and that's where Balin's able to take advantage. One thing I did notice was when Balin slices her off the cliff, he definitely doesn't connect with her. So Ahsoka falls off that cliff, but I don't think she's been hit with the lightsaber. So to me, I don't think Ahsoka's dead.
No, I didn't think she was dead, no.
So it's very strange, but yeah, after that, obviously you have Sabine picks up the map, has the blaster pointing at it, but Balin's very much able to use the Force to manipulate her, and she wants to save Ezra. And at this point, she probably thinks Ahsoka's gone, so like, what is there else to lose? I suppose. I suppose really, lastly, in the episode is Ahsoka sort of. Well, before we get there, let's talk about the New Republic fleet. So, once all this goes down, Sabine says, "I'll come with you." I noticed they still put her in cuffs, even though she says she will come on her own, which was I thought quite strange. When the New Republic fleet turn up and they know that the engine's powering up for hyperspace, they tend to fly towards it. So straight away, I was having visions of The Last Jedi when the ship goes through light speed through the giant First Order cruiser.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh no, something similar's going to happen here. Like, why are they doing that? I'm going to assume that obviously, when the Eye of Sauron jumps, obviously it causes those two X-Wings crashing into each other. I'm assuming those two pilots can just eject and be picked up on the surface of Cetos. Otherwise, Hera's got a lot of experience to do in the New Republic if she's killed two pilots for nothing. I don't know what your thoughts were on this mini space skirmish. We'll go to you first, Jason. What are your thoughts on the space skirmish?
Yeah, no, it was obviously. I think we all knew that obviously Hera wasn't going to sit back and allow the others to go without her. So the arrival of the Ghost was brilliant. And also the fact that she brought along Carson Tether, who obviously is a character that, like Hera and Ahsoka and Sabine, believe that the Republic is at risk. So he's seeing his involvement was brilliant. I was praying they were going to bring Zeb along as well, but I see someone said on the internet maybe Carson's going to have to go back and recruit more pilots to come and help. And maybe that's when we'll see Zeb rejoin the fight, so to speak. But no, this battle, this whole thing, I've got a theory that obviously you see, like someone else had picked up with the hold on maneuver, where obviously she went straight through the ships as she went into hyperdrive and destroyed everything. Whereas obviously the Eye of Sion seemed to go straight past. And the theory I've got is obviously the centre of the Eye of Sion is where whatever it's going to link up to with the hyperdrive is going to sit. So I believe that as it went by, it was more the wake of that hyperdrive that took out those ships and not the actual ship taking them out. That's my theory on it anyway. But it was, for me, it was just great. The whole episode was great Star Wars. You know, we had space battles, we had lightsaber battles, and we had pure emotion in a lot of the scenes. So it was perfect Star Wars.
Ian, what were your thoughts on the sort of the X-wings and the Ghost facing off against Ion and on Hera Syndulla coming to help their friends?
First of all, like, I just think the way they've got the fleet and the shots of the ships they look fantastic. There was another shot later on with the Eye of Sion come through the clouds out into the atmosphere. That looked fantastic as well. It was really cool to obviously see a Phoenix leader again, which is obviously a nod back to the Rebels days. It was also cool to see Brendan Wayne, obviously the main stunt guy behind The Mandalorian, obviously was an X-Wing pilot in this. I think that's really cool to see his face on screen. He's normally doing the stuff for The Mandalorian. It was nice to see him on screen. The hyperspace jump for the Eye of Sion was, obviously it's got a lot of hyperdrives on it, and it's attempted to do something we haven't seen in Star Wars before, obviously traverse to another galaxy. So I always thought it might look a bit different, but I liked how it basically ripped a hole in space to get to where it's going. It's not like normal hyperspace jumps are quite gentle, they just nip off, but this one you could feel like quite a visceral reaction when it like ripped through space to get to where it's going.
Yeah, definitely. So like I said, I hope the pilots are safe and sound. They can just retrieve them from the planet's surface of Cetos. It's going to be a strange one because I imagine next episode we're going to have Hera getting together with Hu Yang and Sabine to figure out. Sorry, Hu Yang and possibly Ahsoka. Sorry, to figure out what to do next. And obviously, the end of the episode is Ahsoka waking up in the world between worlds and seeing Anakin Skywalker. Go to you first, Ian. Obviously, for me, the world between worlds, I thought there were certain entrance points to the world between worlds. So it seems like she's just appeared in there because she's fell in some water. I don't know what your thoughts are on
that. Obviously, back in Rebels, she got pulled into the world between worlds by Ezra Bridger. So whether we don't know who this is yet, we don't know if that is Anakin Skywalker. We don't know. Like that's the main thing. Obviously, it looks like Anakin Skywalker and it sounds like Anakin Skywalker. The theme at the end of the episode had me very nervous because that's not Anakin Skywalker's theme, that's Darth Vader's theme. So, but maybe this is Anakin Skywalker maybe he previously got into the world between worlds before the Clone War, during the Clone Wars and he's done what Ezra did for Ahsoka there and pulled her out. It's going to be really interesting to see what they do with this because, like I said, next week we're going to see some crazy stuff because it's such a wide canvas of what you can do within that space. I've seen people say it's time travel. It's not time travel. It's a place outside time and space. So I'm really interested to see what they do next. So my impression is that she's been pulled in there by Anakin Skywalker, Darth, whoever this is.
Yeah.
I've seen some theories actually as well that apparently you can hear the sun in the first episode of the Ahsoka series, and obviously we have seen Sam Witwer credited on this show. So is that the sun? Obviously, we saw Morai die, the daughter die, and then obviously she's become this spirit animal type thing for Ahsoka. Is the sun still out there? Is the sun from the Mortis arc in the Clone Wars still out there? And is this potentially him within the world between worlds?
Quite possibly. So just to clarify, the world between worlds, it's not time travel and it's not a multiverse. It's sort of like a pocket dimension. Yeah. I mean, Yoda very much talks about the multiverse. It's established in Empire Strikes Back with essentially visions and possibilities. Always in motion is the future. Do you know what I mean? So it's not, it's already been set up that way with that line. But yeah, I thought, I didn't know if we'd actually see Anakin or not or hear him, but we did, which was absolutely fantastic. So it is just a case of like what is going to happen next, and next episode are we going to be in the world between worlds? Who knows? And is that actually Anakin Skywalker as a Force ghost or Force spirit, or is it somebody else doing something different? Who knows? Jason, what was your thoughts on the sort of the final scene of the whole episode that we've just been discussing?
I think obviously, like everyone, it sort of took our breaths away as soon as we saw, that at last we were getting Hayden and Ros- Rosario together to perform as these characters. And, it was, like we say, there's the foreshadowing, what we see is Anakin and the way he speaks to Ahsoka, the snips, and the whole thing is very friendly. But then the Darth Vader theme sort of thinks, yeah, we're being lulled into a false sense of security here. And I'm looking forward to seeing where. I think we're going to see heartbreak for Ahsoka, and that she's going to have to go through the whole process of turning away from her master again, and leaving him in the world between worlds. And the effects, obviously, as per usual, the Star Wars fandoms criticised the effects. 1 minute there wasn't enough de-aging, now there's too much de-aging. But I've got a feeling with this one that, for me, Hayden had almost like, I know obviously the background in the whole sequence was blue, but he had a Force ghost appearance about me. So I'm beginning to think, the theory of possibly the sun creating this image, similar to what obviously Palpatine in the World Between Worlds previously had shown himself as Sheev Palpatine until he turned to the Emperor once Ezra saw through him. So I'm wondering if we're doing a similar sequence with this. Is this Vader showing Ahsoka what she wants to see, but is then going to try and pull her to the darkness, sort of thing. So there's a lot going on here, and that's why I'm looking forward to the next episode. Seeing Hayden back was brilliant. And I'm really looking forward to him getting a chance to shine in the next episode. But I have a feeling that will be his episode.
We will see. I mean, there's 8 episodes in the season. This one that we're talking about, Fallen Jedi, is the halfway point. There's still a lot of season to go. When if you think this is going to end with Thrawn popping up at the end, right? I can't really do 4 more episodes of waiting for Thrawn. Do you know what I mean? So I think the next episode could be completely in the World Between Worlds.
Yeah,
I think that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But time will tell.
I do have a theory of what it could be. I don't know if this will pan out. But obviously we've always seen that Ahsoka has never truly gotten over what her master became. So I don't know whether she will be put in the World Between Worlds by Anakin to show her, look, no matter what you did, I was gonna turn, and it was always my destiny to turn at the end of obviously Return of the Jedi. And I think there will be like Ahsoka reborn at the end of this, and potentially this is where I could see her donning the white robes after she comes out of the World Between Worlds. There's potentially Gandalf the White and all that type of stuff. I do wonder if that's the case, whether this is her chance to now get over her master's fall to the dark side, realise there's nothing she can do. Obviously, we've seen people levy at her that she's abandoned him and that, and she probably feels that there's certain responsibility for his fall as well. So I wonder if that could be the case, whether we see them dueling like at the time of Revenge of the Sith, and Yeah, and then she's pulled out, and then she is reborn as obviously Ahsoka the White.
Yeah, because obviously, at the end of Star Wars Rebels, Ahsoka very much turns up as Ahsoka the White. Both know Dave Filoni is very much influenced by Tolkien and the lore of Tolkien. Obviously, this season, we've seen that end of Rebels sort of redone, pretty much like for like. The Muriel, the ship turning up, the same steps, Sabine wearing the same hair, same armor. But obviously, Ahsoka was different. She was still Ahsoka in the normal garb. So maybe he's done that on purpose. Dave will know that he hasn't done that when he's done it, and he'll know that we're actually going to make her the White, Ahsoka the White here at this point in the next episode, quite possibly.
It's quite interesting that staff at the end of Rebels looks a little bit like the Eye of Sauron as well.
Does indeed, doesn't it? Does indeed. Any closing thoughts on the World Between Worlds, Ian?
No, just really. I just think next week we're going to see some absolute crazy stuff. I won't swear.
Any closing thoughts or questions about the World Between Worlds, Jason?
No, just like Ian, just really looking forward to seeing what's going to happen. And, love the ride that Dave Filoni's taking us on at the moment.
Dave and obviously the whole crew, I think, the whole cast are doing a fantastic job. I think that the score's awesome, the visual effects are awesome. This one was directed by Peter Ramsey. I think he's done some stuff for the Spyverse movies.
Did he do what's Game of Thrones show? It's not Game of Thrones. House of Dragon?
Possibly.
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure he did.
So he's obviously used to big, obviously impactful shows like this.
Yeah, so I think there's a lot of people behind the scenes doing some really, really good stuff.
Yeah, and another thing that has struck me about these episodes is obviously there's been a lot of talk about how short the episodes are, but for me, that is Dave Filoni's style of writing. The episodes are short, but not a single second is wasted. There's storytelling all the way through, and from the point that you start to the point that you finish, you took on a journey. And the directors obviously have had to work, in a quick time frame. Obviously, it stems back, I think, from Dave's work in animation. But for me, that's a strong point for this series. At the moment we're coming up to the 5th episode, and I don't think there's a single part of any of it that you could call filler.
I don't think it's going to be 8 episodes long. I think what you got to remember is as well is that there's going to be a lot of deleted scenes and stuff deleted out. That doesn't make the final episode. So yeah. I mean, I don't really buy too much into would I rather be longer? I'd always rather have more to watch, but I don't get upset over run times. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah.
But for me, this is the most Star Wars, like a George Lucas Star Wars I've ever felt since obviously Disney bought Star Wars. This feels very George Lucas to me. And like I said, it's not a surprise, obviously, seeing that it's Dave who's doing it, because obviously he's George's Padawan. So no, this really does feel like George Lucas Star Wars to me.
What are your thoughts for the next episode, Ian? What do you think's going to happen?
Oh, let's go crazy. Right, I think that we will see Darth Vader. I think that's pretty obvious with the theme. I think we'll see that. I don't believe that is just Anakin Skywalker standing there. Like Jason said, I think they are using it. Nice smiling Anakin to lure us into a false sense of security. I do think there will be something going on. I do think we will go back and see possible recreations of Clone Wars stuff, like in live action. I think we'll see a younger Ahsoka, because obviously we got that in the trailer where we hear Hayden talking about, in this war you'll face more than droids. So I do believe that we'll go back and see a younger Ahsoka, potentially a Captain Rex. And I think we will see Ahsoka in Revenge of the Sith, if you know what I mean. Maybe she's there with Obi-Wan to confront Anakin at the end of Revenge of the Sith on Mustafar, something like that. I think we will see. There's a reason they're releasing this one in the cinema. I think this is going to be absolutely crazy, this next episode.
It's only in the cinema for select fan screenings, or is that right?
Yeah. Just not in it's not in general, but yeah. But just the fact they're releasing it in some cinemas means
I think you've got to be invited, no matter what they did at the beginning.
Meaning they're not going to just put that in just for the sake of it. I do think this will be truly mind blowing. This next episode.
Jason, what's your thoughts on the next episode? What's going to happen?
Yeah, similar to Ian, I think we're going to see. I think this is possibly someone or something trying to corrupt Ahsoka. And I think, as I say, I think this episode's going to be heartbreaking because it's again where she's going to have to turn her back on Anakin. So I'm really looking forward to just seeing where the adventure goes. But at the moment, this series has not let down at any point, and it just seems to be getting stronger and stronger. I see today they released that at the moment it's got 100% rating on Rotten Tomatoes and 9 out of 10, I think it was, on IMDb, which just goes to show how even with the few negative things that you see, it's really, really been embraced.
Yeah, I think the show's doing well. I think there's been a few things come out about Rotten Tomatoes and how it's maybe a bit more corrupt than we think.
Yeah.
So I'm not probably put too much onto that, but I think the majority of people I speak to and I see are talking about it. I haven't really seen any negatives at all, to be honest with you. So the people in my circles are enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it, which is good.
Just going back to Jason's point there about obviously someone corrupting Ahsoka, there was a point where obviously Morgan says that Thrawn calls out to me across time and space. I don't believe that's Thrawn. That's not Thrawn. That is someone else, and that this could be the person that obviously Jason alludes to could be trying to corrupt. Thrawn will not be able to call across time and space, so I'm very intrigued to see who that could be.
Yeah. I think I just want to end talking about the episode title. So it was called Fallen Jedi. So for me, I think it could refer to, the lost souls of the Jedi. Anakin Skywalker was a lost soul. Could be referring to him. He was a fallen Jedi. Balin and Shin, two people who still are training and working in the Jedi way, but like on Jedi. It could be talking about those who've been let down by the Jedi, like Sabine, who's let down by Ahsoka here, and by Ahsoka, who was let down by Anakin in the Jedi Order and the Clone Wars. Fallen Jedi could also mean Ezra Bridger, who gave everything, sacrificed everything to help his friends and his planet. Who is sort of, we're going to see at the end of this season here, but it could be about him as well. So I just thought Fallen Jedi was a great title. So I thought you could tie it into sort of a lot of characters who are appearing here. I thought it was a really, 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 really nice and really emotional title. Any closing points for this episode or anything that we've seen so far in Ahsoka, Ian?
No, nothing. Like I said, I'm just really enjoying it. Like I said, I'd get a true George Lucas feel about this series, and I think Dave just gets it. I think he just gets it, and he's doing a great job. And long may it continue. And this is why I'm so happy he got a film.
Jason, anything about Ahsoka you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
No, I can only reiterate exactly what Ian said there. This is going in the right direction, and I just can't wait to see what's coming next.
Would you want to go to Ahsoka Series 2, or would you want us to go to the movie?
I think there's going to be more story to be told. Obviously, we know that the next season of Mandalorian's already supposedly been written, which would make me think that that's going to carry on from this. Whether there's going to be another season of Ahsoka that would then lead into the film, I'm not sure. That's in the. I think everything is hard to guess at the moment because Disney's in a very strange place where they're trying to get their heads around everything. Bob Iger's making waves with different things that he's doing. Disney Plus is a very different beast to what Disney's dealt with in the past. And yeah, I think it's possibly going to be the Mandalorian season 4. Then we're going to get moved on to the movie. Obviously, everyone wants a second season of Ahsoka because everyone wants more Star Wars. But obviously, to get the film out in the time frame that they're looking at, or that they've said initially, would Dave be able to concentrate on another season of Ahsoka during that time when he should really be doing the prep work and the filming for the film? So my theory is this is a one-time deal. We've got the Mandalorian, and then I think they're ready to wrap it up with the movie.
Maybe. I think the biggest thing there is obviously, nothing's in production right now. Andor's being stood down. While the strike goes on, nothing is getting made.
No, I know, but the plans were already there. This is where these series are working at the moment because everything's been planned. And I think I don't think they're just saying we're going to give Dave Filoni a film without knowing what that film is already going to be.
But do you think that the longer this goes on, is the more, because things do change and it's not a concrete plan, like in my opinion. Like Mando did well, so they did some spin-offs. They were going to do a Rangers of the New Republic. Remember, like we've seen the graphics for it and everything. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's very much to do. It's not like concrete.
No.
To me, I think the longer the strike goes on, stuff isn't getting made, is the more time other people have the chance to change their mind.
To be fair, I think the Rangers thing only got shelved because obviously the Gina Carano stuff. So I just think that was probably outside of their wheelhouse.
And I think it's blatantly obvious that a lot of that got amalgamated into what was the Mandalorian. But I get what you're saying, Pete. Obviously, plans do change. I just think that I think they're probably going to be playing a patience game. And the problem is with Star Wars, obviously, if they start messing around and they don't have a plan, we've seen quite drastically what can go wrong.
So are you wanting to, I was saying that Disney need to give the writers and actors what they want and then get the strike done so we can get our Star Wars back straight away?
The whole strike thing is a complicated thing, and it's going to be, and obviously Disney are one of the biggest problems with the strike at the moment. I can completely get where the actors are coming from, and I think it's the whole strike process is going to cause a lot of damage to the industry over the longer it goes on. So they need to be working very, very hard to get that sorted. Potentially we're looking at the beginning of next year of there being a lot of repeats of programs on television, and with stuff not being made, it's just going to damage everyone. It's not just causing the damage to the companies; it's the damage to the actors' careers afterwards if stuff's shut down for too long. They could be losing shows left, right, and centre. We've already heard quite a raft of announcements of stuff that's being canned. Which could also be just positioning the companies putting pressure on the actors by canning these shows.
Well, I think the problem you've got is that it's the executives who make the decisions, right? So Bob Iger is not going to suffer off if Disney don't make that show for the next 2 years. He's fine. It's everyone who is involved in making that show who's going to lose money, and the fans are going to lose out on not playing the show. And the problem is they don't want to play ball because I don't know why, but it's a fair deal, in my opinion, what the writers and actors are asking for. And there's some smaller studios who are happy to do it, and they're making stuff. But I think, so it's these big executives who aren't affected by the strike because they're not, because the billionaires. you know what I mean? They could not work. They could not make $1 more for the rest of their life, and they'd be fine. And they're the people who are making the decision, I'm afraid. So it's a tough one, but I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. To be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think as television viewers, we're going to suffer for a while with this. And it's a sad state that it's got to, that the execs are holding it at ransom because they don't want to back down and give, which is basically what a lot of it is they don't want to back down, which is just doing more damage than good.
Indeed. Ian, any closing Star Wars thoughts? Any new Star Wars things you want to talk about before we wrap it up?
I was super excited yesterday when we got the announcement about the new novel coming from John Jackson Miller, The Living Force. That's really exciting. I really enjoyed his Kenobi novel, the Old Legends one. He also did a New Dawn, which I believe is the first canon novel ever. John Jackson Miller, yeah. So that's exciting.
Yeah, do you want to talk through the premise of the book?
The premise, I've skimmed over it briefly, is it's set a year before the Phantom Menace, and Qui-Gon Jinn implores the Jedi Council. They're shutting down an old, potentially High Republic era temple on a world in the Outer Rim somewhere, and he implores them to get out in the galaxy. They're becoming very, as you see at the time of the prequels, they're very much isolated on Coruscant, the Jedi Order. They're not out in the galaxy where, like we see in the High Republic. So he implores the Jedi Council. So all 12 members of the Jedi Council go to this planet, and then enemies of the Jedi see this as an opportunity to kill all 12 members of the Jedi Council at once, obviously dealing a hammer blow to the Jedi Order. So yeah, that is basically the premise of the book, a year before the Phantom Menace, and I believe it's out April 9th next year, which I'm super excited about.
Does it sounds very exciting? It almost sounds like it could be like the end of the High Republic era, like that last little bit tying into the prequel trilogy, which could be quite cool. So excited for that. I want to talk about the Ghost. Obviously, the Vintage Collection Ghost did get backed with all 4 figures. So anybody who backed the Ghost, you will be getting the Ghost. You will be getting Hera, Ezra, Kanan, and Zeb, and then they also will be releasing Chopper and Sabine on the same cards as well for sale. So you can have the whole Ghost family. So I'm excited. I can't wait for that to turn up. So we've backed it now. They've took the money. The £500 gone, which is good. I'm glad it's gone. And they've said that the Ghost should ship before December next year. So potentially a nice Christmas present for next Christmas for me. Jason, any closing thoughts about anything Star Wars that you want to talk about before we wrap it
up? Obviously, saw a mass release of Lego on September the 1st, and I'm pleased to say I have in my grubby mitts the advent calendar ready to be built way before December. So I'm looking forward to that. I also wanted to, because obviously Mandalorian's very popular and cosplaying, and I've talked about it before. I want to draw attention to a guy that I've purchased stuff off called Kabiri's Workshop off of Etsy. He's got a sale on at the moment. I've been looking through, and he's got some awesome blasters. So if you're interested in it, go and have a look at the stuff on there, because I think there's some real fun weaponry if you're into cosplaying. So that's one that I've noticed today. Also, going back to the announcement of John Jackson Miller's book, if you look on his, I saw it on Facebook, he's done a brilliant video with James Arnold Taylor talking about the book, with him obviously doing the Obi-Wan voice. That's well worth having a quick look at. I think that is about all. I'm hoping to have some more exciting Star Wars stuff coming up soon, but we'll keep you with bated breath with that one.
Spot. Ian, where can the people find you on social media?
You can find me on Twitter or X, whatever you call it, at The Mandalorian, and you can find me there.
Jason, where can the people find you on social media?
At Hondo Ling. as per usual.
And you can find me on Twitter, or X is now called, or Instagram at Joy Jedi Pete. You can find the podcast on Twitter or X at Boz Star. And you can find the podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Star Wars Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. May the Force be with you all. And remember, always tell that to Kanja Club.
Hello, Star Wars listeners. This is Savannah Odit. You might know me as host of The Dorky Diva Show with my co-host Brian Balance. I am also producer of The Adventures of the Zolan Dart, which is a Star Wars-inspired audio drama that we produced over the last year. If you love stories about smugglers, courage, heroic characters, and maybe a few foes along the way, you should go to thedorkydivashow.com and listen to The Adventures of the Zolan Dart today.
Shout! We've got your pigs.
Were any of the critters harmed?
What did you do now?
I didn't do anything. I just freaked out for no reason.
It was nice doing business with you again. Maybe next time we could deliver something less temperamental.
Now, what you call temperamental, I call fun.
Hey, is there a place nearby where I can make some repairs?
3 clicks south of here, you'll find a small spaceport. They should have what you need, as long as it's nothing too big.
Dynamic class? My stars, you don't hear about many of those still being space-worthy.
It's been in my family for a while.
She's pretty great. Any chance you have a hover cart we can use to load up?
I'll check out the HoloNet to see if anything new has come up in the sector.
My name is Sereth Kol. I am the chief here on Kamai. My people and I have been experiencing food shortages as of late due to unforeseen natural occurrences. We are looking to hire someone.
I say we take this one. The pay is great, and it's the type of job we're familiar with.
Welcome. You must be Captain Otoa. I've already sent word to Pac 2 to expect you in the next cycle or so.
You told him we were coming before we even accepted the job. That's rather presumptuous, isn't it?
Perhaps, though once I received confirmation that you were interested and on your way here, I couldn't help but hope.
Fair enough. Well, we'll be back as soon as we can.
Well, that's not good.
Is that blaster fire I hear?
So you're the one.
Captain, it sounds like they want to do this the hard way.
I love when they got some fight in them.
This is bad. This is bad.
We're about to have a lot of company.
I'll see you soon.